Is it possible to be completely clean in a contemporary war-like situation?
It's impossible, because the wars are the most dirty of political situations that exist in the world, the most violent, the most corrupted, the most difficult, the most complex, and so if you choose to work in such environments, then you have to accept that your feet get dirty and sometimes your hands get dirty as a result of wanting to do good things for a population that is severely affected by war. And that's the reality of working in those types of situations. This is something that you have to anticipate, and crucially you have to recognize it, and you have to discuss it internally, and then eventually if there's real compromise that you make as an organization, you have to justify yourself externally. And this requires a very good ethical understanding of an organization and of its staff in order to be able to be alert to these possible compromises.
And in that regard, I think Linda Polman some time ago wrote a book, I think in English, is called War Games.
Yeah.
And she says maybe that the compromises were too big. And I think she gives the example of Eastern Congo, that aid organizations ultimately ended up helping also the rebels, which prolonged the war.
Yeah.
Do you agree with Linda Polman's critique?
Well, Linda Polman is a very thoughtful, presents a very thoughtful critique of humanitarian action. I think generally she's right, and generally, in fact, the actions of MSF in the past, where we have withdrawn from the refugee camps that were dominated by the Interamwe in 1994 around Rwanda, Ngoma, and Bukavu and so forth. This is where we have said, after the acute phase of the refugee inflows finished and the acute needs were finished, we didn't want to participate in setting up an infrastructure that allowed those who had committed the genocide in Rwanda to rearm and to regroup and to reorganize in order to re-attack Rwanda. And this is where she's fully right. I mean, at some points you need to consider not only what the impact is of you as a humanitarian organization today, but also what the likely possible consequences are in the longer term. And if then your inputs and your assistance is being used in such a manner to create a worse situation for the population, then you really have to wonder whether you should continue your activities. These are not easy decisions at all, and sometimes they're much more easily recognizable when you're looking back. But MSF has in Ethiopia, in Rwanda, and in North Korea, and some other places, we have taken those types of decisions in order to limit our own contribution towards a worse situation in the future.